up, everybody? Welcome to the Secret Restaurant Podcast. We're at it again. We're doing it again for another time. And this time, we're really going to do it right this time. All right, my name is Nate Hoyle. I created this thing not too long ago. And by God, I will take it out of the... Wait, hold on. I brought this podcast into the world, and by God, I will take it out of it. But that would be a little bit dramatic, I guess. I am trying to stay calm and patient with you, but I swear I will take every single episode off of the internet. I've been researching some gigs all day. That's dude. I don't know how many. I know some people I know freelance either artistically or in other various ways, but I'm sure there are more than I know of. But I tell you what, man. If you had told me back in high school or even college that I'd be applying for gigs, I would have thought you were talking about shredding guitar or something. Not writing a website for a nursing home.
Here at Pumpkin Patch Living Facilities, pleasantry is our number one concern. We are very concerned with how pleasant we are being at all hours of the day, in our atmosphere and our accommodations with your loved ones who are kind of old.
Yeah, dude, I'll watch your grandma for you. $30. I'll watch your grandma for like $30, dude. Well, actually, how long will it be? Because if it's gonna be longer than an hour, then maybe $30 an hour.
Here at Pumpkin Patch Living Facilities, we'll watch your grandma, dude. We'll watch your grandma for like $30 an hour. Or wait, how long is it gonna be? Our accommodations are very pleasant. How long do you think it will be, though?
I'd say though, after maybe close to 2 or over 2 years of freelancing, it's definitely like a sliding scale of which ones are good and bad, what things you do, because I've done a lot of things. I've done articles, I've done full-length books, I've done some website writing, short stories, test books, how-to books, inspirational books. But I gotta say, though, out of all the ones I've done, the best ones are the ones that, pay you the most. All right, so here's the skit. Here's the script. So these two people are talking. One was like, yeah, man, Nanny just hasn't been the same. I get worried about her being alone in that house. I just wish that there was a more affordable way to provide care for my elderly loved one. And then the other guy's like, I'll watch your grandma, dude. And then over time, it goes great. First he watches one grandma. Then he watches two, right? And before he knows it, years go by, he's got his own business. He's got his own enterprise, almost, of watching people's grandmas. And so then we cut to 10 years later, he's doing great, convertible, nice watch, suit and tie, looking real nice, and he's on the television. He's advertising for his company. And after driving, he looks at the camera, he goes, I'll watch your grandma, dude. And then, so that's probably a quick cut. Like, he's like, I'll watch your grandma. So that shows like that how much he's grown. It's kind of an American dream story. But that's not where it ends. So cut to like even a little bit further, he's got a book deal. His hardcover copy of his autobiography, I'll Watch Your Grandma, Dude, has just been released. He's on the morning show. Everyone's laughing. Everyone's having a great time. But little do we know, things are about to turn. I did want to talk briefly, rest in peace to the great Ozzy Osbourne, man. He was one of those people that you always thought that he was going to be there, You always thought there was going to be Ozzy Osbourne in the world, or at least that's how I felt. Just because he was so prominent and so above, larger than life, really. And obviously, in my life, Ozzy has always been Ozzy. Ozzy has always been on the radio and on the televisions and in the magazines, and just a larger-than-life entertainer. And it's weird to think that he is no longer here. Right when I said that, the air conditioning turned off, as though a ghost has entered the room. But yeah, I listened to Ozzy forever. Always loved Ozzy, and then kind of since Arrow likes reality TV so much, you can't really find it anywhere. So I've got some DVDs of the Osbournes, and we started watching, and then of course she started getting into it because of the reality show, not heavy metal, which is understandable. But I just remember when we were listening to him then, she was like, yeah, he's got a great voice. And I guess I had never really thought of it. Like, I knew he had a distinct voice. He had like a voice that was only Ozzy's. But she's like, yeah, he has a great voice. And then I started listening to him a little closer, and I was like, you know what? He actually does. I think he was one of the most underrated singers talent-wise. Just because his voice is distinct, and maybe sometimes the first time you hear it, you're like, whoa, what is that guy doing? But as far as like singing goes, he was definitely underrated in his skills, I think. But like anything, a lot of the outrage and a lot of the people not knowing what they're talking about things, that kind of fueled his career a lot too. But yeah, when I heard the news, first thing I did was I listened to the single that was on the radio when I first started high school in 2007. Because back then we still listened to the radio. We listened to the radio, or if you had your iPod and a way to hook your iPod up, which was actually rarer than you think, or if you had a CD, you could listen to those things, but otherwise you got the radio. So on the rock stations, there was a song by Ozzy called I Don't Want to Stop, off the album Black Rain. And I think I was actually listening to it not that long ago before this too, but it just felt like a fitting song to listen to. Sorry, I keep tapping my chest, but because when they did that final concert, it was clear that Ozzy was kind of struggling. There was a lot of speculations about his health and stuff, but even then, or any time, pretty much throughout his career, I think, if you asked him, if interviews asked him or quoted him, like, he would always be like, no, I'm still going to play shows. I'm still going to keep going. I'm still going to, this isn't like the last time I'm going to be performing. And so I thought it was like a fitting song to listen to, sort of a anthem for like the longevity of his career, and just how hard he worked in his career, and how he stayed relevant for whatever it was, like 50 years or more, maybe even 60. Never did see Ozzy or Sabbath live. I did see Zakk Wylde perform Sabbath songs with his cover band, Zakk Sabbath. That was just last winter, and if people don't know, Zakk Wylde was Ozzy's guitarist for a very long time. Maybe from like 1990 through to now. So I saw that, but I never saw Ozzy. I remember him coming to the Quad Cities and not going. He definitely was there when I was in high school, and I remember wanting to go but not going. And that's kind of a disappointment. That happens more times than you can even list. I know concerts are getting more and more expensive, but there's so many people who I wish I would have seen them, and then they passed away, or the band broke up, which is not as big of a deal as the first one. But probably my biggest regret was not seeing Mac Miller. I had tickets to see him at a festival, and then he had to cancel. And then I also had a chance to see him, like, literally, for fans of him, other people, this won't mean anything, but I had a chance to see him literally when Blue Slide Park, his first album, came out. But I didn't go to that. But he was already pretty big then. But it would have been in a smaller venue. So that's something that was really a bummer. But But yeah, that's beside the point. Yeah, man, I read Ozzy's biography too, and I would recommend. I mean, it was. I don't usually read a lot of biographies, and sometimes I feel like they're kind of just like cash grabs. But the Ozzy one was really entertaining, man. And it's like I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it was co-written, or maybe they transcribed his just like audio, because I think he was actually dyslexic. Or I read that in the book. I read in the book that he wrote that he's dyslexic. So he must have had like a co-writer, but I don't know what the process was. But the voice in it and the storytelling in it really felt like it was like Ozzy telling it. And then there was a lot of stuff that I hadn't known, or deeper details that were just proving how kind of wild his life was. Yeah, dude, I'm like kind of the Ozzy Osbourne of just like staying inside and doing nothing. That's kind of my thing. I'm like Ozzy, but like the version that doesn't go outside ever and just kind of sits inside. That's sort of my vibe. I used to go outside, but it didn't work out for me. When I would go outside, it would, things would go horribly wrong. So I kind of just started to stay inside. I decided I'm just staying inside. I'm not going outside. And then that way, the things that happen when I'm outside, those things, they can't happen when I'm not out there. So I'll just stay in. Went to this vintage market over the weekend, where it was like a bunch of vendors throwing, like old clothes and baseball cards, magazines, some video games, all that stuff. And we were there. My grandma was in town this weekend, and we were there, and she was like, "Who buys all this stuff?" And I was like, for every thin $50 t-shirt that you see on a rack, there is one just like it beneath the $200 1990s NFL jacket walking across the room over there. We all know that Gen Z is obsessed with vintage stuff, but I wonder if the next generation after them, if they'll be just as obsessed with vintage stuff, or perhaps they will not have a choice. Perhaps there will only be vintage stuff sooner or later. I don't know if that made sense. It's kind of like a deep thought of mine. One of those deep thoughts. One of those really thoughtful things that I come up with. We've got a great show today. It's one day later, by the way. But I had to re-listen to it to remember what I was talking about. What's an added layer to this that I didn't really realize the whole podcast thing is I need to, or actually I figured it out, but for a while I didn't know how to not have it transcribe the words. And sometimes they were wrong, what they did, transcribed it. And so when I was listening back again for a second, I thought I said that I was a virgin Ozzy. But I said version Ozzy. So I wanted to clarify yet again to you guys who keep on talking about me that I have, in fact, had sex. One of the main reasons that I do enjoy freelance writing, though, it's kind of like your own boss in a way. You make your own hours, you make your own assignments, and really at the end of the day, you get to do whatever it is you want to do, really. And usually that involves waiting until the last 24 hours before a deadline, and then thinking that you might die from exposure to computer screen related stress. I remember one time I had a deadline that it was on New Year's Eve, and I literally we were having friends over for New Year's Eve to our apartment, thankfully. But I think I wrote like I'm not even exaggerating either, and it's my own fault. I think I wrote like 8,000 words in like one day on a deadline before New Year's. And like people were coming over at like 8 or something, or 9 or something. And I just remember it was like the worst feeling ever. It was very hard for me. No, but yeah, that was you. Sometimes, dude, sometimes I'll feel like I stare at my computer screen so long that I actually go cross-eyed. Like I actually look away from the computer and I am cross-eyed. So I'll Watch Your Grandma, dude. An autobiography was an absolute hit, and really, all the fame and success that our protagonist thought that he would have, it's reached a whole new level. TV spots. He's in other commercials featured, selling other products, and just making money. But his passion, his deep purpose of watching people's grandmas has still remained in his heart. And he needs to continue that goal. If not just for one single grandma at a time, he must have that one thing in his life. Now, enter the evil grandma. The most sinister grandma, completely unmanageable. Yeah, dude, this most recent grandma he's watching, it's like one notch short of murderous. And he thinks it's going to be the end of his career. Things are happening, horrible things. Well, I guess this is sort of Son of a Woman. Yeah, but I'm not going to spoil the ending for you guys. I'm just going to have you buy a ticket and go see it yourself. But yeah, that's basically the summary. And who knows whether the hero will prevail. It's like Scarface meets Son of a Woman. Or maybe a sprinkle of Dog Day Afternoon. Ooh, what if the grandma robbed a bank, dude? What if she was a retired bank robber, but he didn't know? Oh, man. Maybe, I don't know, man. Maybe she has ties to underground, like, dog fighting. No. Maybe she... Here it is, I got it. So it's like, all this time, he's been watching people's grandmas. But the twist is that all along, this grandma has been watching him. Ooh. You guys remember that SNL skit with Chris Farley and Adam Sandler about the pool boy? That was one of my favorites. Let the boy water your plants.
Let me sleep in your house. Please. You won't even know that I'm there. I'll put all my things in a little corner.
This has been fun, guys. I'm glad you guys could come out today. I'm glad you guys could come out and meet me for this Secret Restaurant podcast event. I think that's all I've got, really. Unless I decide to record something else tomorrow, we shall see. But until then, just remember, there is good in the world. The world is good and there is good out there, and evil will not prevail.